Matthew, it's interesting that you mentioned the wide receiver position because I haven't really heard that position being tied to the Minnesota Vikings. It is in the first round, to say the least, in the first round. It is a very, very deep wide receiver class. How realistic, let's say hypothetically speaking, Stingley is off the board, Sauce is off the board. How realistic is it for the Vikings to maybe think about going the wide receiver route in the first round?
I think it is realistic because I know that there are still needs on this defense, though they filled a few of them with bringing in Zadarius Smith, Harrison Phillips, Jordan Hicks. So they've brought in veteran players to fill these spots right away on the defensive side. And then it appears that Cam Bynum is going to get his chance in the secondary as well. So they feel fairly set there outside of maybe adding another cornerback who can be there for the future. But the wide receiver position, I mean, first, you're bringing in a head coach who comes from Los Angeles, and he's kind of downplayed this, but they use 11 personnel 90% of the time. That means 3 wide receivers. And right now, I think KJ Osborne showed that he can play in the league and he can be effective, but someone like Jameson Williams can be a complete game changer. And he's coming off an ACL injury, which may drop him just far enough to be available where the Vikings are. And if you're picking for help you right now, that's always risky in the NFL. Unless you're picking one of those top 5 guys, usually players need development no matter what. But Jameson Williams has that burst that has had people comparing him to Tyreek Hill, which I know is like the best player in the league when it comes to that, speed. But when you watch him play at Alabama, there is just jetpack on this guy. And I don't know how you turn that down. And then there's this other element to it of receivers are all of a sudden becoming very expensive human beings. And I'm not saying Justin Jefferson's going to leave or anything like that. I think that as an organization, you want him to be the guy for a very, very long time. But we've even seen elite receivers just get too expensive for their teams, including Tyreek Hill. So I think you always want to have that next guy. And also Adam Thielen, if he's watching, if he's listening, I'm sorry for this man, but you're in your 30s. And when you get to that point, we start to talk about who's going to be the next man up. And if Jefferson is their long-term top elite wide receiver, having that second guy, I think is proven to be very, very valuable in the NFL. It's been very, very valuable here in Minnesota. I think there is a really great case for Jameson Williams, but you mentioned it's a deep wide receiver draft. So if Jameson Williams is gone, then you're talking about, Chris Olave. There's also some low-key guys like Treylon Burks or Sky Moore is a really intriguing prospect that could be kind of a slot guy. So they don't have to take a receiver with the first-round pick. It would kind of be the luxury pick. But I really like the idea, man. And you know this from being a defensive back. How tough is it when that team has 3 guys that you have to worry about?
That's the thing. And that's the luxury that the Vikings have to their, argument if they decide to go with Jameson, because he won't be healthy by the start of the season. But you still have KJ, you still have Adam, you still have Justin. So you still have 3 experienced wide receivers that has chemistry with Kirk Cousins. So it's not like we need Jameson right now. But think about this, Viking Nation. If you're able to get, hypothetically speaking, Jameson Williams at 12, I believe if he was healthy, he wouldn't go outside the top 5. That's the type of talent he is. You mentioned he runs with a jetpack on his back. That's legit. That's real. So now eventually, towards the end of 2022, he makes his appearance, and you can slowly bring him slowly get him caught up to speed. But eventually, in the long term, Justin Jefferson is an all-pro player, right? And Adam Thielen, I know you're saying he's in his 30s, but he's still a guy that can do a lot of damage, especially in the slot. And adding depth to that position is something that many people love to do. Not to mention your new head coach came from the Rams, who they just kept adding wide receivers, and he's an offensive-minded guy. So, man, that would make a lot of sense if you're not able to get the DBs that we believe they potentially could target at 12 if they're not available. So that makes a lot of sense.